Poppy Day. Every year in November, the nation marks the wars that have scarred our past and the bravery of the men and women who fought them. Armistice Day and the Remembrance Sunday is a chance to remember not just those who fought, but what they fought for. Armistice Day, Poppy Day, held on November 11 every year, commemorates the signing of the armistice between the Allies and Germany at 11 am on 11 November 1918, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. Although hostilities continued in some areas, the armistice essentially brought an end to 4 years of fighting in the First World War. In Britain, it's tradition to pause for a 2-minute silence at 11 am on November 11 to remember those killed in the world wars and the British servicemen killed or injured since 1945. Armistice Day is also called Remembrance Day. In this commemorative event, schools, offices, and churches up and down the country usually take part in 2-minute silence at 11 am and hold service and war memorials on either or both days. Buses and trains stopped moving, people stopped working, shopkeepers stopped serving. The electricity was cut off to stop the trams from running. Everyone just stayed silent to think about the soldiers who have died. Every year, on 11 November, they stop for a short moment of silence and reflection. Since 1920, many people have also had read around the tomb of the unknown warrior at Westminster Abbey. Here there is a body of soldiers whose name and rank no one knows. People visit his grave to think about all the soldiers they did not know but who fought for them during the war. November 11 is also marked around the world after the Second World War. Many countries changed the name of the day from Armistice Day to Remembrance Day, while the USA chose to call it Veterans Day and made the day a federal holiday. During the Armistice Day on Saturday, 11 November, the Royal British Legion will host a festival of remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall to remember all those who have lost their lives in conflicts. Instead, the Remembrance Sunday commemoration will take place at 11 am at the Cenotaph Whitehall, London. The first Remembrance Day in Britain and the Commonwealth was held in 1999. However, Australian journalist Edward George Honey originally thought to have proposed the idea of 2-minute silence in a letter published in the London Evening News in May 1989. King George V later issued a proclamation calling for a 2-minute silence. It said, "All locomotion should cease, so that in perfect stillness the thoughts of everyone may be concentrated on reverent remembrance of the glorious dead." The Royal British Legion says of remembrance, Great Britain still believes strongly in remember those who fought not only in world wars, but the more than 12,000 British servicemen and women killed or injured since 1945. The Royal British Legion supports silence observed during both Remembrance Sunday services and on 11 November Armistice Day itself. The act of remembrance rightly has a place and an impact on our lives, no matter which day of the week it might fall upon. In the spring 1915, shortly after losing a friend in Ypres, Canadian Dr. Lieutenant Colonel John McCree was inspired by the sight of poppies growing battle-scarred field to write the now famous poem in Flanders Fields. Poppies became used as a way to remember soldiers who died in battle because of how the flowers sprang up and grew on the barren battlefields of the World War I. It says, "We shall not sleep, thought poppies grew in Flanders Fields." Flanders Fields was a place where many battles took place. The poem meant that, even though soldiers go hard and sometimes their lives ended in the war, the poppies still grew. The poppies represented hope. McCree's poem inspired an American Academy Moina Michael to make and sell red silk poppies which were brought to England by French woman Anna Guerin. The Royal British Legion, formed in 1921, ordered 9 million of these poppies and sold them on 11 November that year. The poppies sold out almost immediately, and that first ever Poppy Appeal, the Royal British Legion's biggest fundraising campaign held every year in November, raised over £106,000, a considerable amount of money at the time. This was used to help WW1 veterans with employment and housing. The following years, Major George Ozone set up the poppy factory to employ disabled ex-servicemen. Today, the factory and the Legion's warehouse in Aylesford produces millions of poppies each year. The demand for poppies in England was so high that few were reaching Scotland. Her ex-wife established the Lady Ike Poppy Factory in Edinburgh in 1926 to produce poppies exclusively for Scotland. Over 5 million Scottish poppies, which have 4 petals and no leaf unlike poppies in the rest of the UK, are still made by hand by disabled ex-servicemen at Lady Ike's Poppy Factory each year and distributed by other sister charity in Poppy Scotland. The poppies are made at the Poppy Factory in Richmond, Surrey, where 30 workers, 70% of the workforce, are disabled or suffer from chronic illness. The public usually buy nearly 45 million poppies each year. Last year, more than 11 million of those were produced at the Poppy Factory, along with 135,000 wreaths, and the rest were produced on machines at the Poppy Appeals HQ in Kent. In 2014, the Poppy Appeal raised 45 million for Royal British Legion. Poppy Poem. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row that mark our place, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing, fly scared there amid the guns below. We are the dead, shot days ago, we lived, fell down, saw suns aglow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it tight, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields.